And this is not something to be happy about. We're concerned that the transport sector is basically paralyzed today because of this strike that we are seeing. But it is important to understand the background to where we are today. This is actually a global phenomenon. The high fuel prices is a world crisis. I was recently in the USA, in Washington, in a meeting of World Bank and IMF, and we spent almost 80% discussing the possibility that this country is going to, the world is going to face a fuel crisis because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz out of the, as a result of the war that is going on between the USA and Iran. And you know, Strait of Hormuz actually controls, or that is where 20% at least of the world oil supply comes from that area. But Africa is even more affected, where we belong, because bulk of our fuel supply comes from that particular region. Yeah. Now, all our marketers have to source for fuel elsewhere. Fortunately for us, we had an arrangement where our oil marketers will have to ensure continuous supply of fuel, but it will be at a cost. And you can see they are now going to other places, including India, to source for fuel. This has put pressure. Now, there is what we call the Platts prices, or if you like, index prices of petroleum products or fuel. That price, on 28th of February this year, before the day the war broke out, the price, for example, of diesel was at $642 per metric ton. Yeah. Today, that price has shot up to $1,120 per metric tons. That is about 76%, going to 80% of the cost as it were in February. Now, if you look at our price adjustments, they are still, if we did not intervene as a government, the prices today would be 80%, 76 to 80% more. If you look at the adjustments in the prices of these products, petrol, for example, petrol is at 35% increase, and diesel is at about 55%. So because of the government intervention, that is why the prices have not risen to the level they would have without intervention. I'm not saying there cannot be more intervention. There probably could be, but we, as a government, have already intervened significantly. All right, and was it one of the things that we know, and the anger that a lot of Kenyans have, all their frustration, is the fact that there are so many taxes and levies that are imposed on petroleum products, and the argument currently is that can the government do away with some of these levies and taxes, and what would be the cost of that? Jimmy, let me tell you something. There are two things that this government has done that should be appreciated. Number one is to ensure continuous supply of of fuel. You go to Burundi today. What decision have they taken? That you cannot take more than 30 liters of fuel per week. There are some countries where they have told staff to work from home. People are taking desperate measures at this time because we are in desperate times. We need to also look across and see what is happening elsewhere. Look at the United States of America. The United States of America, which is a net exporter of fuel, the prices have shot up 80% higher. Now, let me come back home to this question about levies. If you look at those levies, the levies and the taxes are supposed to help our development agenda. This economy is a big economy, Jimmy, and we all know it. First, take the roads, for example. There is road maintenance levy in this, in the price of fuel. We need to maintain our roads, and we need to do our roads. If you are going to remove the road maintenance levy, are the matatu operators going to be willing, and now the rains have just stopped, are they going to be willing to drive in potholes? Or, because one must give way for the other. If we are not going to have these taxes and these levies, it means we are going to stop a number of things. So we have to wait. Waziri, some will argue that even with all these taxes and levies, we are still driving in potholes. No, but assuming they were not there, look, but the truth is that the government has also been doing a lot in maintaining our roads. We have probably in this region the longest kilometers of paved roads in this region. We are the only middle-income economy in this region. The others are low-income economy. You go to our neighboring countries without mentioning them, you'll find some countries have only 6,000 kilometers. How many do we have? Over 20,000, and we're still doing more. Some politicians, because of populism, have been saying and calling for us to remove the 7 shillings. They know that is not possible. Why? Because the 7 shilling has already been sold out. And that is how we raised money through securitization. The roads that are stalled and people were complaining have now been jump-started. Are we going to compromise on long-term development of the country for short-term expediency? It is not. Okay. And we don't know, by the way, how long this will take. There are measures already that we have taken, Jimmy. Right. One of them is that we are using the stabilization fund to cushion. And we have already spent, between April and now, we have already spent 11.2 billion to cushion and reduce prices. We have reduced VAT. VAT reduction to 8% in 1 month costs this economy 12 billion. And now it is 2 months. That is 24 billion. If it goes for the whole year, it is almost 300 billion. We must sit back and ask ourselves, yes, we have a crisis to deal with, but can't we deal with it in a way that does not also disrupt the entire macroeconomic fundamentals of the country, given that we don't know how long this crisis is going to persist?
And speaking of this cushion, Waziri, how much do we have left, and how long will that is that going to take us?
So, before this crisis began, we had 17 billion in the fund. The first month, when the crisis hit us, because we had some stock that cushioned us for some time. Yeah. So in the month of April, the first adjustment that came, we applied 6.2 billion to cushion and stabilize. And we could not just exhaust the fund because we didn't know how long this is going to take. So we spent the 6.2 billion. This month we are spending another 5 billion. We will be left with just about 5 billion to take us to the end of June. And then hopefully in the next financial year, we will again now have or collect more of this of the funds into this fund. So we are doing something, and including also that VAT reduction.
All right, so Waziri, I was at a forum where you tried to explain why you only spent about 5 billion in the first tranche to try and cushion Kenyans. And yes, you explained that this was meant to ensure that you can continue cushioning Kenyans. Yes. However, just barely weeks later, what we are seeing is that those fuel prices have gone up significantly, yet much as you say the government has intervened yes, significantly, people are still feeling that pain. And this is leading to a lot of Kenyans feeling that the government is inconsiderate.
No. The government is completely considerate. You have not considered that if we did not intervene, what would have been the prices today? And I will point out to you. Yeah. Today, we are selling, for example, diesel at...
continue.
Can I continue?
Yeah, sure.
This diesel is going to retail at 200 and... Let me allow you. Yeah, it's going to retail at around 242 shillings, isn't it? Yeah. That is the latest price. Without the cushioning, we would be at 273 shillings, around that space. Mm-hmm. So the cushioning that we, the intervention that the government applied is what has reduced the price to 242. Still high, but it must be recognized that there is something that the government has done. I will tell you, petrol would today be at 311 shillings if there was no cushioning at all from the month of February to date.
What would have happened if we removed all the levies and all the taxes at the moment? We just suspend them for a period of time to try and bring these prices down.
You know, Jimmy, that is a very simplistic way of looking at it. Yeah. If you remove these prices, these levies that you are talking about, the effect on the economy is massive. Because, let me tell you, we have a lot of things also to address. Look, we have just released our children to school and we have paid money. Have you heard people complaining that this time the money for second term has not been released? We have released the capitation to schools in record time. That money, where does it come from? It comes from taxes. And then we have some specific levies, like road maintenance levy, I've told you. The rains have just stopped. We now need to get to repair our roads. How are you going to repair them if you don't have money at all? Already we have reduced VAT, which is already hitting, already has a hole on our budget. And if you remove all these taxes, where are you going to get more funding? Are you going to get more funding by taxing Kenyans in other space, like on our salaries? There is no space there. So, as we discuss this crisis, we need to be sober about it. What is happening elsewhere? At least this government has guaranteed supply of fuel. And I've said it and I want to repeat.
Yes.
If you go to other countries, the supply is a problem. Now, the other thing is that we are already cushioning. And I'm not saying there is nothing else we can do.
Yeah.
Something can be done. But the government has to say it. This afternoon, this evening actually, at 4, we have a meeting between the National Treasury, the Ministry of Transport, Davis, myself, and Opiyo Wandayi. We are meeting the Minister for Energy. We are meeting, hopefully, together with the matatu operators, just to discuss with them, first to understand where we are, and explore any possibility of further action that can be taken. Yeah. It is not that this government is insensitive. It is that we have a crisis, which is a worldwide crisis. It is a crisis in the US. People who are producing oil have that crisis. Today, this morning, there was a report that a drone has hit a refinery in UAE. Yeah. We don't know how much this war is going to cost us. Remember, in 2022, there were no fuels. Our petrol stations ran dry. We are not at that level because the government has taken proactive approach to that.
What more concessions are you currently considering as the National Treasury and even as you engage with the other ministries?
That we will discuss. You know, the space available for us is so limited.
Yeah.
It is about the taxes. It's about VAT. It's about other taxes. So, but we have to weigh those options vis-a-vis. I don't want to give Kenyans so much hope. Yet I know very well that there are consequences also. If, for example, we lower VAT to 0, what are the consequences? You are going to lose more revenue. If you lose that more revenue, are we going to be able to implement our budget? Are we going to stop?
And something that I'm sure you've already seen from the TVs and from other news outlets is the fact that today when you look at the economy, it has sort of stalled across the country. So is that a cheaper price to pay, or would you rather make concessions and then make up for the revenues later?
Both of them are not cheap at all, I will tell you. Both of them have consequences. We have made populist decisions before, Jimmy, and we have faced the consequences. Remember, in 2024, we almost defaulted in paying our debts out of some of those cheap and populist decisions that were taken. And I hope that this government, we will be allowed to make some decisions that in the short run may look unpopular, but in the short run, but in the long run may be of use to us. What we see today, and I understand and empathize with our citizens, it is not that we are somewhere else and we don't understand what is going on. We understand what is going on. Really, was this strike necessary? In my view, it was not. What we see is now even beyond strike. If you are demonstration and picketing that there is no petrol, the petrol prices are high, why should you burn tires on the roads? Why should you put stones on the road? It means that someone is now politicizing a crisis that is already bad and making it worse for their own political objectives. That is one thing that, in my view, should be called out.
Unfortunately, we cannot verify that. However, let me bring you back.
No, but haven't you seen fires on the road?
Haven't you seen stones on the road? We cannot substantiate that there's anyone behind it. But the question that I want you to help us understand, would the government then consider sourcing fuel from other countries? I mean, when you look at the continent, particularly here in Africa, we have places like Nigeria, we have the Dangote refinery. Why not consider other alternatives as opposed to the UAE area and the Middle East, where, as we speak, there's a lot of disruption?
Jimmy, that is a long-term solution. Getting fuel from Nigeria, it's not that we are lacking fuel. I want us to be very clear.
Yeah.
We are not lacking fuel. Fuel is in this country. That is one thing that this government has guaranteed. But if you get that fuel from Nigeria, you may find it even more expensive than getting it from India. There are logistical challenges that we are all, if you are not aware of, I would make you understand. So it is not that we are lacking fuel. We have it. We have petroleum products being shipped and brought here. It's only that they are arriving here or landing here at higher prices than they used to land here a few weeks or months ago.
Yeah.
And that is why the prices have shot up. And that shooting up of the prices, we have tried to address it. And we will still continue to monitor. If there are things to be done, we can still be able to do. But we are also not going to raise the expectation of our people by telling them we are not going to have price hikes around the petroleum product, when we know with this war, if it prolongs, it is going to be disaster. In fact, for the world economy. Look, World Bank has already revised inflationary rates. Do you know why they have done that? Because the prices of fuel across the globe have been recognized to be rising. And that is a factor. And so they have already factored in high inflationary pressures in the whole world economy. They have also reduced economic growth projections. This is being done worldwide. And it cannot be a Kenyan problem. This is a world crisis. And if we continue like this, it will be like COVID. It is a problem. It's a problem that only America and Iran have to solve. They must stop the war. If they don't stop the war, we will have to somehow live with some consequences.
All right, so Waziri, let's come back home. And for the very first time, we're seeing that the price of diesel is higher than the price of petrol and the price of kerosene. This ultimately affects production across the country. Already our manufacturing sector is struggling. Why not subsidize diesel?
The price of diesel has been significantly subsidized, I will tell you. In fact, in the April one, we subsidized diesel more than any other of the three. We subsidize diesel. The reason why kerosene has not risen is because the consumption of kerosene is very low. Consumption of diesel in this country is the highest. And I will tell you the demand worldwide for diesel is the highest now. The prices for diesel worldwide is the highest as we speak. So that is why diesel has gone up higher. But if we let it without cushioning, it would not be 242 per litre. It would be much higher. It would be not less than 273 per litre. So we have already cushioned the price for diesel. We can do more, but where is that space? So those are the things that we are now going to discuss. And I've told you, we'll have a conversation. We'll have a conversation even with the players in the sector, in the matatu sector, to discuss and let them understand where we are and what the government has done and what the government is still doing. We could not use or exhaust that fund, the stabilization fund. We have to leave about 5 billion to take us to the end of the financial year. Because if we cushion 100% today, and then next month we have zero, the prices will go to over 300 shillings. And again, it will be worse crisis than what we are in today.
All right, so let's talk about the landing cost. What needs to be done to reduce that?
What needs to be done on the landing costs, what needs to be done is to stop the war. If you stop the war for a period, there will be stabilization of supply. Because supply has been disrupted now. The demand is high, the supply is low. The law of demand and supply, if you did basic economics, tells you that if the demand is high, supply is low, the prices go up, and vice versa. So we are in that situation where the prices have to go up because the supply is down and the demand is high. The other thing would be the freight, what we call the premium. The premium component is the freight, is the insurance, and the margin by the marketers. The margin by the marketers is not much. It's about 17 shillings per litre. But the freight cost, for us, we are a bit lucky because of the G2G arrangement that I'm hearing people scandalizing. We are paying about $88 per metric ton, as opposed to some of our friends in the region who are paying.
But Waziri, again, that is where the questions are coming in, because the argument is that when you compare the prices of oil in Kenya vis-a-vis the prices in our neighboring countries, we seem to be paying a lot more for the same products, some of which even passes through Kenya.
That is another propaganda that is being peddled around. Let me give you the example. Tanzania, diesel, in the month of May, before these adjustments, Tanzania the diesel was selling at 4,248 Tanzanian shillings, which, if you convert into Kenya shillings, about 217. At that time, our diesel was costing 196.6. Uganda, it was 192. Petrol was at 210 Kenya shillings. Uganda 200 shillings, Kenya 197. The reason why, probably, you know, Uganda is a free market for petroleum, but you can still see how the prices are playing around. In Tanzania, it's controlled like ours. But let me tell you one thing about Uganda and Tanzania. First, Kenya is a bigger economy. Our consumption is higher. So we exhaust our storage faster. Uganda Uganda today, you'll find they're still having the stock of March. The stock of March was way cheaper than the stock of April. As we are on the stock of April, the stock of April came at a higher landing cost than the stock of March. You will see the next month, Uganda will jump up again, probably ahead of Kenya. Yeah. So these things, when it is easier to just throw words around that our neighbors are selling, the reality is that is not very factual. You go and find out. I have given you the example of the US. The US produce oil, the US refine oil, and actually they are net exporters of oil. But what is the price of how has it behaved? Yeah. You will find that diesel per gallon has moved from 3.8 US dollars to 5.62 per gallon. Okay? US dollars. Yeah. Petrol 2.98 per gallon, them they measure in gallons, to 4.52. Now, what percentage is that? 52-48. An oil net producer, the prices are that high. In fact, the actual pump prices for them has risen by close to 80%. And it is across the world. So why is it that this thing is being narrowed here to be a Kenyan problem? It is not. All right. It is not. Each country is trying to deal with it differently. There are countries which I have told you are advising their people to work from home. Yeah. So Kenya has not gone that route. All right. Because at least we are guaranteed of supply. Yeah, it is the cost we haven't gotten to that point where Kenyans are being allowed to work from home. Now, the question that I want you to help us understand: how much more, from where you sit as the National Treasury, how much more do we have set aside for subsidy in the event that it is needed? No, I've actually answered that, Jimmy. Probably you have just forgotten. I said that we had 17 by the time this crisis began. Billion. In the first month, we used 6.2 billion. We have again spent 5 billion for this latest review. Now, what we have is about 5 billion to last us to the end of financial year. So, in the next review of June, which will be June 14th, at least we have some money again to help cushion. To help moderate the prices. It is my expectation that if the landing cost does not rise again exponentially, from what it was in the last review, you know, because we worked with the month of April, isn't it? The prices were already high. So the month of May, the prices may be the same or may slightly be high. I have no statistics. I think I need to get from the ministry. Then, if we apply this cushioning, then it would moderate the prices. All right. And speaking of this landing cost, Waziri, are there Kenyans who are benefiting from the landing cost? I don't think so, because the landing cost, who brings petroleum products to this country? 3 oil marketing firms. All right. We have the Abu Dhabi one, we have the one of the one of Saudi Arabia, Aramco, and we have the one for UAE. Those 3 world-leading marketing companies. We have a G2G arrangement with them. They are the ones who bring petroleum products to this country, and there is a benefit to it. What is the benefit? They are supplying us without demanding for immediate payment in terms of foreign currency. Today, with these rises in prices, if we had an arrangement where we have to look for foreign currency and pay instantly, it would have put a strain on our forex. And again, now, with the weakening of the shilling, we would be in more problem in terms of prices. So the government taking that decision early, when we didn't even know that this crisis would be with us, is a blessing for us, because now it is not putting a strain on our reserves, and therefore not also affecting the shilling or depreciation of the shilling with attendant consequences. So what I'm saying is, you know, unless there's politics to be played around, because I've had people, Jimmy, who have said, Sijui who is bringing fuel. it is all politics.
Yeah,
in my view.
Please allow us not to go in that direction, because again, we cannot substantiate.
But you know, Jimmy, that is exactly what you have asked.
However, what I need you to help me understand.
You know, Jimmy, can I just also correct you?
Yeah.
You ask me whether there are people who are benefiting.
Yes.
That is already political. So I have also to tell you that this matter is being politicized.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I am not really playing politics. This is a big issue. This is a major issue. This is of concern to the country. I would not sit here and start playing cheap politics with it.
Okay. So there is a. So allow me to go to this direction, because we've seen a number of reports claiming that IMF might have something in terms of how we are pricing our fuel, that you have been cautioned, and like you rightfully say, just last month you were there for the spring meetings. Does IMF have anything to do with the prices of fuel that we are seeing in the country?
If I may throw back that question and ask, since this crisis began, what is it that we have done that has increased the prices? Mm-hmm. So where is IMF coming from? Because there is no levy that. In fact, as a matter of fact, we have reduced VAT.
Yeah.
And we have applied stabilization fund. So there is no any other levy that has been added from February or even from last year. So where is the IMF coming from? Mm-hmm. I don't see. Actually, you know, the role of IMF is to offer advisory services. I think people have not understood IMF and World Bank. IMF is a fund that advises member states on some macroeconomic issues. Anytime there is a possible shock, they advise. They can offer. You can take the advice or leave it. Now, like in this case, what they would tell you is general, that countries should brace themselves. Countries should look for ways of trying to address the possible effects of the fuel prices. That is what IMF will tell you. They will not tell you, go and reduce VAT, go and add this. No. I have never heard that from IMF. So anyone who is trying to push that agenda is politicizing an already very fluid situation. The situation we are in today, Jimmy, is dire.
Yeah.
And it is not confined to Kenya. It is a world problem. It's a global problem.
So are you saying that IMF has not asked you to give too much concessions?
On what?
On petroleum products.
No. We have never entered in such a discussion with IMF.
Okay.
Not that I have led. And by the way, no one engages with with IMF directly in matters like this. Economy. I lead the team that engages with IMF. All
right. So let's talk about our budget proposition, and some of these taxes that you say, majority of them are aligned to our development.
Yes.
Waziri, what we have seen, and especially even from the National Treasury, is we have seen a review on how much taxes we're going to collect. We've seen a review on economic growth. What we've not seen a review of is the expenditure side of the government. Why that discrepancy? Why can't we cut our expenditure?
You see, we have a very inflexible budget, Jimmy. Look at that budget critically. If you spend your time to look at that budget.
I actually have.
First of all, I will tell you that amount that we are likely to collect of 3.63 billion, 1.5 billion of it, trillion, sorry, 3.63 trillion that we are going to collect. 1.5 trillion will go into debt repayment, inflexible. Yeah. You can't touch on that unless you want to default, which has consequences you don't want to imagine. There is about 1 trillion that will go to paying salary of public servants working for national government. That takes you to 2.5 trillion. You are left with only 1.1 trillion. This 1.1 trillion, 420 will go to counties, minimum, because again they are still negotiating with us. Yeah. Now, that leaves you with slightly less than 700 billion. And here is where your capitation money is coming from, health money is coming from, all the money that you take to security operations is coming from here, and any other expenditure will come from this amount. Now what does that tell you? That we have no money to cut. On the development side where you would cut, a lot of our development projects are funded from development partner funds. It's not even our own funds. It's money that either we get grants or borrow. And so you are very limited space. We have only said that now National Infrastructure Fund will take some commercially viable projects. But again, there are projects that already are committed.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you something. If you look at that budget again, the executive budget is reducing. It is reducing because we, in the last financial year, we spent about 2.9 trillion. Executive, the national budget, not executive. Yeah. The national government spent 2.93 trillion. We are going to spend about 2.86 trillion. That is below. Way below what we are spending this financial year. Yeah. That is what we are projecting to spend next year.